Hey everybody, if you don't know what I'm going to say by now, well, it's time to jump on board the train and get with it. So anyway, my name is Mike Baird, and if you're into drum stuff, or even if you're not into drum stuff, but you like good stories about the music business, which I've got a lot of them, you're going to want to be a part of this channel. So, without further ado, welcome to another episode of Mike's Drum Cubby. Hey, welcome Cubbers to another episode of Mike's Drum Cubby. Yeah, the channel I created for you, the Cubbers. So, always want to hear from you guys. Anyway, this is the channel about drum stuff and great stories about me being in the music business. So even if you're not into the drum thing, hang out there. Man, you're going to want to stay. It's a good one today, another good one. So anyway, today, if you dig the channel, please hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, send me comments. Always love to hear from you. So today we got the DW Steel. So let's get to it. So here we have the DW Steel, and there's a story how I came about this drum at the end of the video. So stay tuned, it's a good one. The drum is a 6.5 by 14. I mainly used it for live situations. And I dig the way this thing looks because of the knurling pattern done on it. It really is cool looking. I believe they still make this drum, and it's a heavy one. So I'll let you know what the weight is at the end. For live, I have this one set up with a straight ambassador white coated head on top. The snare wires I eventually changed out and used it a bunch, just how it came from the factory though. By the way, the snare wires now that DW makes now are way different than the ones that were done when I got this drum. Not to say the old ones were bad, but the current DW wires are superior, and that's because of John Good. This is a loud drum for sure, and so if you want something that's loud, this is it. This is one to consider or to have. I never really used it in the studio because I personally didn't have a situation where I needed a super loud drum, but it kills live. It has a traditional throw off for the time, the butt end, and the logo. DW Steel. It's low for this drum. Medium tuning. DW Steel. High tuning. Here we go. Rim shot. Well, we're back. Anybody want to guess the weight of this drum? 17 pounds, 14 ounces. Now, if that isn't a boat anchor, holy moly. I mean, you know, can anybody say steamship? Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, the story goes like this of how I got this drum. I was doing a live gig with a friend of mine named Joey Brassler, great guitar player, and he got this gig at a place called the Little Rock, which was a little club in the valley, and he named the band. It wasn't a real band, but he named the band that played in this club Rhymes with Punt. So anyway, we're doing this gig, and he's probably one of the loudest guitar players I've ever worked with. Always a great tone. So let me say that, because he is a great tone. But man, loud, I mean, like unbelievably loud. I was having a hard time hearing myself. I mean, I got snare drum and I'm banging the crap out of this thing, and it's hard to hear anything. It's just so loud on this little stage that we're on in this little club. So one day I call up Scott Garrison, who was my artist rep at Drum Workshop, and I said, I'm dying on this gig. Have you got anything that's loud? I mean, it just needs to be loud. He goes, man, I got a drum for you. Come on out. You want me to ship it to you? I said, no, I'll come out and pick it up. So I go out there, pick up this drum, and it's heavy. I mean, it's heavy. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. So they box it up, and I take it back. I take it back home. I go to do the gig, we set everything up, whatever, and I put this drum in. I was like, man, this thing, it weighs a ton. I hit it one time. This thing is loud. I mean, it's loud. It's like the perfect, okay, this is probably going to work. So we start the gig, and I think I maybe had just a little piece of tape on it, just to muffle the overtones a little. But it's a great drum. In the studio, you don't really hear how loud it really is, because, we're micing everything, and I patted it down to a point. But I really don't use it in the studio. In fact, I've never used it in the studio that I recollect, because it's just a loud drum. It has a lot of character, but it's just loud. And in the studio, you don't want something you don't need something that's that loud. You just don't. Somebody could beg to differ on that, but that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. So, anyway, so I get this drum out, and it's so loud. How loud is it, you say? Well, it's so loud that I start noticing, about 20 minutes into the set, that every time I hit this thing, people are doing this, that are sitting at the bar. It's like, because it's loud, but I can hear it great. So at the first break, I get off the stage, and the owner comes up to me and goes, hey, Mike, is it possible to do me a favor? I said, yeah, what's that? She goes, can you possibly play a little softer on that snare? It's taken everybody's head off. And I had to literally back off, because it's so loud, it was cutting through everything. And I didn't care how loud Joey was playing, it was cutting right through it like a knife. Anyway, like I said, it's not a studio drum, it's a live drum. So that's my story on that drum. So that's another great drum. And of course, it looks great. It sounds great. But I've never used that drum in a concert environment, because you don't need, when you have things mic'd and you got in-ears and stuff like that, a lot of overtones and stuff like that, they wind up, engineers have to dial a lot of that stuff out. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have, in a live situation, as much padding if I was using that drum. That much padding on it, but I'd have to put something on it, because it's just it's way loud. So and in live, in all the tours that I've done, I wouldn't probably pick that particular drum unless you just want a loud drum. I mean, it's a loud drum, and it has a lot of character, and you muffle it right, and engineers can do their magic and put gates on them and EQ and do all that kind of good stuff. But I've never used it in that scenario. So that's the story about how I got the drum. So let's move on to the other story. So back in the day, I had met Michael McDonald, from the Doobie Brothers. And of course, Michael's had a solo career and so forth and so on. He was producing an album for a girl named Amy Holland. And he asked me to play on it. And I'm on it, and Jeff's on it, Jeff Piccaro's on it, another great drummer. I mean, there's a lot, the cast of, I forgot who played bass, but anyway, it was done at the studio, and I talk about it in another episode. Wally Hyder was on Selma and Cahuenga, and this was just down the street. I think it was Master Labs or Sound Lab or something like that, or Hollywood Sound or something like that. Anyway, that's the studio that it was in, that we cut this in. So I had never met Michael in person. I don't remember whether I'd met him before and that's how we talked, or whether he just called me because he dug my playing. But anyway, this is the first time of me meeting Amy Holland. Now, Amy McDonald, because they got married and all that kind of good stuff. Went to their wedding up in Montecito many years ago. But whatever. Anyway, let's move forward and let's get to the story. So we do this album. Album comes out great, whatever. Well, this, like I said, they weren't married yet, and Amy lived in the valley, and she lived with a couple other people in this house. It was kind of a bitchin' house in the valley. So she calls me up. She says, I'm throwing a birthday party for Michael. It's his birthday. We'd love you to come. I said, yeah, I'll come. So what do I get him? Oh, you know, he doesn't need anything. And I got him something. I forgot what I got him, but it was something that was kind of cool. Can't go empty-handed. Come on. It's a birthday party. So I get to the house and I walk in. And the first thing that happens, I see somebody and you know, music's playing. They got records playing, or somebody's got a tape going or something, cassette of music. And he hands me this bottle. He says, hey, have a hit of this. Of course, this was in my days that, you know, if we were drinking, we were doing heavy drinking. We're partying, we're doing heavy partying. You know, it was those times. And it doesn't happen for me anymore, but that was back then. So I say, yeah. So I take a swig of this stuff, and I go, oh my God, this tastes horrible. And he goes, no, isn't it great? And I'm like, it literally tasted to me, not that I would know, but I could imagine. You take a bunch of used gym socks, right? And you put it in a baggie, and then you pour this alcohol through it to strain it, and you put that in a bottle and you sell it, because that's what it tastes like. It's a Scandinavian liquor called aquavit. And I had never even heard of it, let alone taste it. And it was like, oh my God, the taste was horrible. Anyway, so the party's going on and on and on. And one of the cool things about this house is it had an attic in it. And they converted the attic into a hangout place. So they had chair and TVs and couches and tables and stuff like that. But they had this ladder you had to climb up. And it's not like a lot of attics where they come down at an angle and you can crawl up. This thing was straight up and down. I mean, literally, it was like straight up and down. So what happens is I climb up this thing. It's all good. And we're hanging up there. Well, the guy that's up there has this bottle. He goes, here, take another hit. Well, this stuff is, I don't know what proof alcohol it is, but it's, man, it was kicking my butt. So I'm drinking another swig and we're kind of passing it back and forth. 20 minutes upstairs, I've been passing this thing. Now I wind up with a bottle and I am messed up. I mean, I'm like gone, right? And it's like, so all of a sudden I hear Amy going, come on everybody, we're going to light the candles. We're going to wish Michael a happy birthday. Great, fantastic. So I'm walking towards the hole in the ceiling, you know, to go down this ladder. And the next thing I know, I'm on the floor and I'm looking up like this. And I have people looking down at me through the hole of the ceiling going, are you okay? And I'm like, oh shit, I had walked right into the hole, didn't even bother with the ladder, and fell right through the hole onto the floor. And I looked up and said, yeah, I'm fine. And I didn't even spill a drop. Wow. Yeah, talk about messed up. And luckily, if I hadn't been messed up, I probably would have broke something, because, you know, it's like over 8-foot ceiling or whatever, an 8-foot drop right through the hole. But it was funny looking up and seeing all these heads like peeking through the hole, looking down at me. Are you okay? Michael comes running and goes, oh my God, are you all right? And I go, yeah. And Amy's like freaked out. Oh my, you know, she's like, are you okay? No, I'm good. I'm all good. Don't worry about it. I'm all good. And anyway, that was, so he blew out the candles. We wished him a happy birthday. I don't even remember how I got home. Those were in the days like, you wouldn't do that now. I mean, my goodness, geez, I was so messed up. But in those days, that's, you know, that didn't happen all the time, but it happened enough. And those days don't happen anymore. Believe me, I couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle it. So anyway, though that we've come to the end of a story that's kind of a funny one. And it was for me. It was like, wow. But anyway, aquavit. Yeah, and I've had that because it's a Scandinavian drink, and some friends of mine are from Norway, so they always have it. And now it tastes a little different than it tastes then, but it's still like, wow. You want to take it easy, you know, with that stuff, because it's, man, I don't know what the alcohol content, like I said, but it's up there. Well, we've come to the end of another Cubby. And if you dig the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Send me a comment. Give me a thumbs up. You know, if you got this drum or you're thinking about getting this drum, you know, that's awesome. You know, let me know. If you got a drum that's loud, you know, a lot of people like the bell brass drums, you know, and those are loud too. But this thing is like really, it's loud, and it's different than a bell brass, but it's just as heavy. I mean, it's, as you saw the weight, So anyway, what do we say when we come to the end?
And that's it.
And we'll see you in a minute.